All right, so let's get to this Lisa Su, Dr. Lisa Su video, which I have ready to go. I'm going to pull it up. I'm going to make a full screen.
AMD and Microsoft are advancing a bold shared vision for the future of gaming, one that enables seamless gameplay across any screen, placing gamers at the center of the experience anywhere. We're so excited to be deepening our relationship with Microsoft and build on the over 2 decades of partnership, innovation, and trust. From the earliest days of the Xbox 360 to the most advanced consoles such as the Xbox Series X and S, and the recently announced ROG Xbox Ally handhelds. Moving forward, AMD will go beyond building custom chips for Xbox consoles to designing a full roadmap of gaming-optimized chips combining the power of Ryzen and Radeon for consoles, handhelds, PCs, and the cloud. And we're doing it all with backwards compatibility so gamers can access their favorite titles across platforms, delivering on a promise to both gamers and developers. Together, we are building a vibrant open ecosystem that delivers the next generation of graphics and immersive gameplay powered by AI that includes new foundational models to accelerate the state-of-the-art in rendering. From console to cloud to handheld, AMD and Microsoft are building the future of immersive gaming. We are so excited to be working with Microsoft to bring all of this tech to gamers.
Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. So we'll go. I see some smiles here. So obviously there's some funny stuff in the chat. We will get to some of the stuff there. But Korkenstein, look, this is again on the lines of what Sarah Bond had to say, but she goes into more depth about what they're going to do, especially when they mention AI. AI is going to be a big part of this chip. What they're going to be doing, allowing for games to be played everywhere. The strategic partnership that Sarah Bond had made mention of, reconfirmed by Lisa Su. I want to get your thoughts on this and what you are expecting from this partnership and what they're going to do moving forward into the next generation that you haven't already said.
I mean, she kind of touches on it as well, that they're going to be making different custom chips for a wide range of devices. You remember there's still Project Keystone, and even though that people took it as, oh, the whole project's canceled, no, if you read what was put out, it says that version of Keystone was canceled. I still think Xbox is doing a cloud device. It's just the most natural progression of where they're trying to get everybody everywhere, and you don't have to have a beefy super PC or the next super gen console. You could maybe do Project Keystone and start playing on cloud, and especially with now them talking about that AI enhancement, that would be perfect for cloud right there. Getting eventually, and I've said this before and I've gotten some pushback on it, that I only see consoles going another 2 generations, maybe 3 generations. It doesn't make sense for Xbox and other manufacturers and stuff to keep spending hundreds of millions of dollars on research, development, marketing, production, manufacturing, whatever it is, all this stuff, when they could make something like Project Keystone, or start more investing in the cloud to where you don't need a traditional set-top box to access your games. With AI and maybe in 20 years it'll be pretty amazing what it can do, especially if Microsoft really believes that cloud is the future and where they want to go with it, to where you won't need a console anymore. You could have it built into your TV, have it built into your, they're already kind of doing it with the Amazon Fire Sticks and stuff like that. Luna, there's plenty of other avenues right now where cloud is being more accessible than ever. That could also be something, but seeing this multi-year deal and hearing how they're talking about creating multiple chipsets, sounds like Xbox has plans for hardware for years to come.
Yeah.
This isn't, I know a lot of people, naysay, oh, hardware's getting out, or Xbox is getting out of the hardware business. Eventually they will. All of them will do it. Why wouldn't they? Movies, TV, games, movies, TVs, music, art, books, everything has moved to a digital only ecosystem kind of front. Or not digital only, but they've massively pushed for that way, where now you're seeing movies being taken out of Best Buy, Target, music, things like that. Why would Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo be the only holdout in video games on moving to a more digital forward ecosystem and platform. So eventually I think they will end up going there, but I think they're still going to have maybe things like handhelds, like I said, the cloud machine, possibly, to where you will still have those access. But I don't think, as far as like traditional consoles, I think those are going to be going away, probably in the next 2 or 3 gens. And I think that's what this multi-year partnership kind of is doing right now, is where they're going to have it, multi-year. That's not just like, oh, we're going to just do another console and then be done, kind of thing. Like I said, it sounds like they're setting themselves up for future generations of console development, hardware development, whatever that may be. I'm excited for it. I think, like I said, all of this, especially hearing AMD, which is massive, really supporting it and like getting excited about the future of gaming, whether it's on, like I said, PC, console, handheld, mobile. For us as gamers, the future's bright. It's amazing for us as consumers. And we're going to be eating good, whether you're on, whatever platform you choose to be on. I think gaming's never been in a better place.
I mean, you're not wrong. And, you bring up the cloud thing. Hargeet, look, we know that there's at least 2 pieces of hardware coming out next. And I don't want to say, like lock it into next year. I think it's next year. That's just me. And I think that because it's too perfect, right? You're celebrating your 25th anniversary of the platform. You are releasing the 3 pillars, the Trinity, if you will, in the same year. Halo, Gears, and Forza. The same 3 that this games industry has made fun of for years, right? Oh my God, all they got is Halo, Gears, and Forza. Xbox sucks, right? That's all we've heard about for years. And now that is actually happening, and you're getting 3 new games, right? You're getting the Godfather of first-person shooters in regards to Halo Combat Evolved being remade from the ground up using Unreal Engine 5. And I think the reason why they haven't shown it is because they really want to impress. So they're hard at work. But, Korkenstein made mention of this cloud box. And a cloud box could be something that's a $100 device that comes with a controller. Now, we know that Keystone was a thing. It was on Phil's shelf, for crying out loud, and they deep sixed it. But maybe they don't. Maybe that's part of the overall plan, where the casuals. This is what we're talking about, folks. You say, you ask the question, and it's consistently brought up, Hargeet, about how are you going to move a PlayStation player from their perch, and the chances are probably not really good. That's why Xbox decided to go third party. So you don't have to buy an Xbox, right? You don't have to buy an Xbox to play Fable or the new Halo or the new Gears. You're going to be able to play wherever you want. And that's ultimately, like, I don't give a shit personally, because again, they're not filling my coffers, so they're making money good for Microsoft. But there is a conversation to be had where you're going to be able to, they don't mind you buying games on PlayStation because they're getting 70%, and they'd rather you buy the games, but they also rather people subscribe to the service. And if the service continues to grow as much as it's grown, especially with first party, maybe what Korkenstein was saying about, the Keystone coming back. But again, is it possible? Cloud isn't where they want it to be right now. Is it better next year? Is it GeForce level 2 years from now? I don't know. I would imagine that's where they're going to want to go. But Hargeet, I want to get your thoughts on what Lisa Su had to say regarding, the SoC being like a big part of what they're doing with Xbox, and this further doubling down on the strategic partnership, especially with the AI aspect, because I think that is going to be a big part of what they do.
Yeah, so I think one of the things to kind of take from here is they're making hardware for multiple platform types, right? So it's not just going to be for a handheld and a console. They mentioned laptops, right? So I think I think they're trying to make something that's going to be available to any OEM that wants to make a device that's going to be compatible with this, platform or ecosystem, as far as Xbox. And I think she did mention like the actual compatibility with older titles, right? So And that part of it, I think they're baking in as well, right? So, part of that is the authentication capabilities that need to be there, and maybe they just put that right into the chip, right? Because there's the APU and then there's peripheral things around it that make everything, holistic as far as the actual console. The more you can put in one little area, the less overhead there is for other stuff, right? So if they can put everything in there, it makes it easier for any of those OEMs to just make an equivalent box, right? And it has all the capabilities you need, and it's less of a headache for them to make it. So interesting stuff. As far as the specificity of the APUs, they are mostly the same as the productivity CPUs, but they're a little bit different. There are things they kind of skimp on to make it more game focused. So we'll see what that means here. Are they going to say, hey, you can buy a productivity laptop that might perform a little less on the productivity side, but give you that extra oomph on the gaming side? That's a possibility, right? But I think that's kind of the stuff that I'm gleaning from this is they're making Xbox specific APUs that are going to be shared not just by Microsoft, but by other OEMs that are going to take advantage of it. And this is across different platforms: a desktop, a laptop, a portable handheld, an actual console device, right? So they're going to make it like everything, and that way you get choices. And I don't know how big this gets as far as how many OEMs and who's going to want to play in this. It's an interesting path and pattern to see where this goes, right? How many Windows people will adopt this model to say, cool, I can access all that stuff that existed before too. Maybe I bought some games on 360 gen and hey, they just came in. I don't have to rebuy any of that. Cool, right? That it's just an added benefit if I buy a device that is certified Xbox, right? Whatever that necessarily means, right? So we'll see how that goes. AI is going to kind of be baked. One of the problems they're running into is normally you can take the size of the components on the chip, and they usually make it smaller and smaller and smaller. Usually that gets cheaper. That didn't quite happen.
In this gen,
as they're making it smaller and smaller past where they are now. Right now they're at 6 nanometers. It's making it more expensive. And so they're like, well, can we really go that path? They could, but then you wouldn't want to buy it. It'll be really, really expensive. So they're kind of stuck with this, do we add more oomph by shrinking, or do we kind of add more AI and, maybe give you a bit more oomph, but not a large amount, and use AI to upscale? And I think that's kind of where things are. The PS5 Pro went up to 16, and you're like, you went to 16 when I can buy a 4090 or a 5090 that's doing 83 and I don't even know how much, like 100 T-flops, something ridiculous on a 5090, and you're going to 16. And you understand how underperforming that is versus what's available on PC. And, okay, fine, maybe most people won't buy that. Even if you get a 4070, a 4080, those are way, way more power than that. And so and again, T-flops are not the same. I get all that. That's fair. But you have to look at the equivalency and say, well, that's where they are now. And we just released the 5000 series here. We're getting a new set from AMD. You're far, far behind. 16 is kind of low. What is the next box going to be? Is it going to be in that 40 range, 30 range, 60 range, 80 range? I don't know. And that's the part they're going to run into trouble with. And that's where the AI has to come in. Unfortunately, that's kind of where things are kind of going right now, is they're going to leverage AI to upscale. They're going to leverage AI for the gaming, right? The experience itself. And that's kind of where things are pushing. When I talked to Jason, this is Jason Ronald. This is kind of the way that they're looking at it. It's going to be hard for them to push that up as far as, they're going to give you more oomph, obviously, but it's going to be hard to scale down to smaller nanometers and keep the price relevant. It has to be something in a good price range. Otherwise, that's just not going to fly. And so, they're trying to balance all that out. The AI stuff is going to be needed for that. So, you're going to kind of see hardware-based, upscaling, is just like they're doing with the PS5 Pro and how they do that with the NVIDIA cards now. And FSR4 is going to be doing that with the upcoming AMD cards. I think they're out now, right? So, but yeah, so that's kind of where things are going. So you should expect to see that. I don't know what the specs are going to be for the full console underneath the TV, but we already have what's coming with the ROG, right? We've seen that they've added in AI capabilities to make that graphical leap. So hopefully it works, right? We'll see how that plays out. In this case, it'll leverage FSR4 and leverage. Well, FSR4 would have to be written up to use it because this is not the native capability. They're adding in a separate AI capability, right? So I'm assuming that AMD will update FSR4 for that. So we'll see. It's a partnership, right? That makes sense from my perspective. So I would expect them to do that. There's also AutoSR, which is what Microsoft's written, and they could leverage that as well because it's Windows, right? So we'll see what they do with it, but I think that's what you're going to see there. So the AI stuff, there's certainly experience stuff that can happen with AI, but I think that upscaling is kind of be key here. So hopefully that works out. I assume that this stuff will also be the same with a PS6. They seem to be moving towards the standard that AMD is putting together as far as the PlayStation 6 versus doing their own. At least that seems to be the stuff we're hearing from them. Instead of doing the pisser, they will move more towards a standard FSR based thing that everybody can leverage. So we'll see how that plays out on that side, but you're going to see that on this side as well. But yeah, I think the thing that to take from this is it's not just consoles. They're looking to make this available to laptops and whatever, right? So you can have mini desktops, mini PCs. They'll all probably be running the same thing, which gives you a lot of potential for interesting hardware mix, right? So you can have all sorts of variety if they're really going to partner and have other people make equivalent devices. So that sounds really cool to me. I don't know what the equivalent is from Xbox. I think Sarah put out there, hey, they're going to make their own consoles as well. And then, what they partner with will be interesting to see, right? Again, I think there might be a Windows version and then there might be a console version. And then Windows can have a console mode, but it will be fully capable of doing full productivity as well, where the console will not. And so I don't know if they merge that totally or not. We'll see. It was Corkinson, I think you were saying that the potential for another gen or two. I don't know how much further we're going to go. We're kind of getting to the point of diminishing returns. It's going to be like we saw with PS5 to PS5 Pro. Is there a difference? Sure. But you have to break out the magnifying glass and say, well, okay, at that point, is it really, showcasing itself? All right. And at some point you have to kind of say, all right, is good enough, right? And so we do another gen. We do another one after that. It's like, well, okay, how much more are you really going to get? And we're already getting to that point where it's like getting to a more oomph is going to be so expensive that they're like, we really can't do that. So it's like, okay, what is that next gen, right? So I think the next console may be it. It may be that they do something after that, but now that they partner, that whole thing eliminates itself from a gen perspective, right? So we're used to these 7-8 year whatever generations. ROG Allies come out every year.
Yep.
So this is a new world, right? So now you'll have competition that says, hey, you know what? I made a really cool new device that runs the Xbox whatever, but it plugs in not into the standard screen. It uses one of these X-Real glasses.
Oh,
and that's our device.
That's
right?
Bonkers.
Right.
Yeah, man.
That could 100% happen. There's nothing stopping that from happening. The beauty of having it be something done by OEMs is device innovation can go up, right? It could also just be the same device over and over and over again. But what I'm hoping happens is that you start getting real device innovation where you can get some crazy ass ideas, right? And then people will just pick whatever they want, right? And hey, as long as it's got the same basic auth and all that stuff built into it to be an Xbox chip, the performance can scale as it wants to, right? You can get a newer gen version of whatever AMD's throwing out there. Cool, no problem, right? It'll just take it and use it. And if it's scalable enough, and it should be because it's using Windows code, it should just be able to take advantage of whatever your hardware is, right? So this is just going to be fun stuff to see what they do with it. So that whole gen concept might just go out the window, right? And you can just pick and choose whatever you want whenever it comes out, and it's like this specific device from MSI. Oh my God, it's the best thing. I just want to buy that, right? It's like fair enough, right? And then maybe you wait for 3 years, and you're like, oh, this thing just came up from I don't know. Let's pick Alienware, and like this thing's awesome. I gotta buy it. Okay, right? The gen thing kind of just goes away. It's more like PC. You just buy what you want to when you want to, right? You might say, I'm good for 10 years. Okay, fair enough. Or I'm good for like 1 year because I just like to buy stuff. If you're Keasante, oh, there's another thing that came out 2 weeks from now. Oh, I got to buy that too. Right? He buys everything. Like, he just buys everything.
He
right?
really does.
It's cool. And you're like, you know what? More power to you. That's exactly it. If you have it and you can just buy it, why not? Right? It just makes it so much more fun. Right. And they're trying to make the experience the same for everybody. But you will have all your games, and then you can just buy whatever you want with whatever hardware you want, whenever you want. Right. It's going to be interesting to see this shift. Right. And then the mindset change of like, oh, I'm not just stuck on this box. I can change it whenever I want to change it. How cool is that? Right. So we'll see how they play it out. But this is exciting stuff. I like it. I love it.
Me too. Well, look, I'll put it this way. As a guy that's non-PC, I'm excited for this because at its core, yes, if you are a PC guy or gal, this is like for Hargeet, perfect example of that. He's incredibly excited. I'm excited at a hardware home console level. Like, I understand how to work a handheld. I have a ROG Ally. Do I use it as much? No. Did I think that it was too much PC for me? Yeah, a little bit, because there's a lot of stuff that you have to do with it that I like. As great as the Armory crate was and continues to be, I have always wanted what we're going to be getting by the end of the year, and that's you start the thing. Here's your Xbox UI, and you just go, and that's all I want. I had the same UI with the Switch. You press A couple of times, you're back at the game you were playing. Let's go. Switch 2, same thing. That's all I want. And again, it's not because I'm simple. It's because I want it simple, because I don't have enough time in a day to be worrying about certain things. I just want to play my game and go. But Fuzzy Belvedere, let's get your hot takes on what Lisa Su had to say. And I really think, at least for me, just listening to it, and again, that's a video that I've now watched over 10 times, just so I can grasp certain points of contention. And the thing that she said that I think is the most relevant is making chips for other devices. And I think that is the center. That is the key aspect of where they're going to go, because they're not just making, like Hargeet said, a chip for Xbox. They're making chips for Xbox and OEM developers. And I think that's the key right there, where it's going to be this one chip to rule them all, so to speak. Let's get your thoughts.
Well, the biggest thing that stands out from that, where it's going to be for not just Xbox but other devices, is going to be overall cost. So this may help keep things somewhat more reasonable. Just economies of scale. If you're just making it for Xbox, you're selling it to them for X amount of dollars, and then they have to figure out what they're going to charge per unit. But if other people are buying from that same APU bin, then you're more than likely going to have a lower overall cost. And they'll make the lower cost for ROG or Asus or Legion or MSI or whomever that wants to use those. If the next Steam Deck for Steam Deck 2 winds up using that same APU, then it helps everybody keep their costs down for these devices. Because right now, they range anywhere from the $400 range for like the lesser powerful Steam Decks to the $1,000 range and above for the Ally X and some of the other ones like the IO Neo and some of the bigger more niche but bigger or more powerful handhelds that are out there and stuff. But I think the big thing is it stands a chance of kind of like what Hargeet was saying, even what Paris said in his video, where you might have the laptops, the desktops, the other handhelds out there that are going to be interchangeable in your ecosystem, where running this Xboxified Windows 11 or maybe even Windows 12 at that point software in the background, that's going to be the unifying factor, where you can take a handheld, play it on the go, come back home. Maybe the AI chip communicates with the AI chip in the console that's under the TV to let, not just so you have to worry about cloud saves, but your exact progress. So remember how quick resume works. Like, that's one thing that they want to bring to PC. And from what I heard before, it was a Windows 12 thing that they were going to kind of work into the software. That might make it a lot easier for these devices to have their own version of quick resume and work within your console or the Xbox ecosystem in general, which that way you don't have to worry about corruption of saves or progress and such, where it's able to tell by communicating with the other devices you own, whether it's on the same Wi-Fi or maybe at distance, through Wi-Fi still or something along those lines, where, hey, they left off where they were hiding behind this piece of cover, and then it picks up right from where you were behind that piece of cover. Hopefully it's not a live service game where they already, killed your paused player, but like if it's something where you can actually pause the game kind of thing, and the equivalent of picking up exactly where you left off outside of the consoles, I think would be a huge, huge plus as far as the overall Xbox ecosystem. But I think looking at AMD, they're making more headwind or more, I guess a little bit more market share into the GPU space, since NVIDIA, while great at GPUs, seems to not be as interested in that. They're more interested in, enterprise and AI chips and stuff like that. So that this gives AMD a lot more leeway, both for the home PC market to grow, as well as, with the console market, because they're more than likely going to also partner up with Sony for their next device. Nintendo's the only one that went with NVIDIA, but they went with like a generationally older chipset and stuff like that. But looking at what Lisa Su said, I think she sees the benefit of working with Xbox, and because they are the quintessential software provider for PC, and that's where they want to make their most of their money outside of enterprise, it makes sense to partner with them, looking at future Windows devices, like we've said, laptops, handhelds, desktop PCs that can be easily converted into Xbox mode, like Hargeet said, gaming rigs. I think that's the step forward. But also on the flip side of things, remember, Xbox tends to take those same chips that they would use for their consoles and puts those in server blades. So for the cloud aspect of things, this should be an uplift of everything that we see with xCloud. Like, I know a lot of people are like, xCloud sucks and stuff. Depending on your internet, your mileage may vary. xCloud seems to work well, but I have gig up and gig down for my internet service, and most of my stuff is wired. So it all depends on your actual infrastructure at that point. But if they can improve the chips and stuff, especially if AI is to do some of the uplift as far as whether it's resolution, like what Hargeet was saying, I think that would help not only the look, but also the performance aspect to be more on par, if not better, than what a GeForce Now is doing as far as in the cloud. So all of this being said, moving forward, cloud is going to be a bigger part, whether it's, streaming or just the fact of having something that can call to, for assets or rendering and do some of the heavier lifting on, let's say, a less powerful device. Let's say, Xbox is able to release, a year or two after the main console box, a handheld that can still be on that same gen, a little less powerful, like a Switch 2, until you dock it for under the $500 range. That allows it to call to the cloud for, let's say, some of the, DLS or more FSR scaled or like rendering stuff. I think that would be and also a win for entry level aspects of things. But overall, this partnership, the biggest takeaways is look forward to your current hardware or current software working well across devices, and for future software to probably look even better than what you can expect at this point. The AI stuff, outside of upscaling, still trying to figure out if there's any other benefits other than possibly aiding in quick resume or other features that we saw this gen on the series consoles that could, expand to other devices within that ecosystem. I hope that's the path they go, as opposed to the AI being used to recommend the next game after, playing, stuff on Game Pass or whatever game I purchase. Oh, you may like to buy these other games. I don't want to see that use of AI, although it's probably going to be inevitable to some extent. But if it makes it so quick resume is, more widespread on anything in the PC space as well as Xbox, if, some of the streaming services or the xCloud itself is improved, that would be awesome as well. But kind of looking forward to when they finally announce it. If it's the Game Awards this year, that would be awesome. But really want to see that like Series X moment like they did at the Game Awards. What was that, back in 2019 or so? Hopefully we get that this year for a holiday release next year. Still fingers crossed, no definitives, but it seems like that's what they're gearing for. It seems like all the stars are lining up for that 25th anniversary. What better way to have your launch lineup? That it feels like some people were saying that, hey, maybe they withheld stuff from this most recent showcase. We know that they got 30 plus studios, and each of them have 2+ teams in some cases. So they're probably working on having that stellar launch lineup for the next hardware as well, not just to satisfy us existing console owners for 26, which will probably be a banner year anyway, but on top of that, with new hardware, having those extra pieces of candy to really show off what the hardware capabilities are, but yet still look great on current hardware, I think is what they're lining up to do. And AMD is a great partner in that. It's a much more affordable approach than working with NVIDIA. And like I said earlier about the Qualcomm with the Snapdragon stuff, it seems like they tried it and couldn't get it all the bugs or kinks worked out that would have made it, a seamless transition, going into the next generation. So looking forward to AMD. They've worked well with them for years, continue to work well with them. More than likely an evolution of the same coding, the x86 aspect of stuff. So it should be easy for devs to, pick up from where they left off in the next generation. Hopefully we'll just see, more memory or more compute units available like they always, ask about, but still, push for like this baseline, like we've kind of asked and received on a majority of games or a lot of games, a baseline of 60 frames, but with almost like quality visuals, combined kind of thing, and make that more of the norm next generation moving forward. And maybe we see some 240, FPS games or something like that. But, just every way you look at, looking forward to what this partnership delivers, over the next few years.